Brothers and sisters, welcome to our Watchtower study. Today's article is very close to home because it deals with a situation many of us face. How to keep good relationships with relatives who do not share our faith. When we first learned the truth, we wanted to tell our loved ones right away, but sometimes that created tension or misunderstanding. This study will help us approach our family with the same balance Jesus showed. Deep compassion, patience, and genuine love without compromising Christian standards. We will learn how to look beyond negative words or reactions, how to remain hopeful over time, and how to show our relatives in practical ways that we still care about them. As we go through the questions, let's listen for ideas we can apply personally, so that our conduct and our love can keep the door open for the truth. Let's begin. Question 1 and 2. What may have affected our relationships with our relatives when we first learned the truth? Answer. When we first learned the truth, it was normal to feel excited and want to share it immediately with the people we love most. Jesus recognized that natural desire when he told a man, "Go home to your relatives and report to them all the things Jehovah has done for you." Mark 5:19. We can relate because good news feels too precious to keep inside. But the article also explains that our relatives may not have responded positively. Sometimes they were not ready to hear it, or they may have felt threatened, judged, or afraid of change. In other cases, the way we presented the truth, maybe too direct or too intense at the beginning, could have created friction. So our relationships may have been affected not because we stopped loving them, but because the truth introduced a new reality into the family dynamic. The encouraging part is that the article is not telling us to compromise Christian standards. It's teaching us how to maintain or restore good relationships while keeping our loyalty to Jehovah strong. With that background in mind, the next question helps us see what the article will focus on to guide us. Question 3. What will we discuss in this article? Answer. The article lays out 4 practical areas that can really help us in this sensitive situation. First, it shows how compassion can motivate us to keep taking a personal interest in our unbelieving relatives, even if they don't respond right away. Second, it helps us learn how to look beyond negative words and actions so we don't react emotionally or give up too quickly. Third, it explains how a patient and hopeful attitude can, over time, help our relatives recognize the truth. And fourth, it gives practical ways to show them that we love them, so they never doubt our affection. What I appreciate is that the article is realistic. It doesn't pretend it's easy, but it gives a balanced approach, strong loyalty to Jehovah while keeping a warm and respectful spirit toward family. Now, the article begins with the foundation of all of this, compassion. Because without it, we can easily become discouraged. Question 4. How did Jesus respond to those who were indifferent to his message? Answer. Jesus did not quickly give up on people who were indifferent. The article shows that he compared himself to a worker who did everything possible to help an unproductive fig tree bear fruit. Luke 13:6-9. That illustration is touching because it shows effort, patience, and hope, not irritation. And it's especially meaningful because Jesus had been trying for more than 3 years to cultivate faith among his fellow Jews. So he understood what it feels like when people don't respond, even after repeated attempts. Yet compassion helped him stay patient and keep trying. That teaches us a lot about our own relatives. Even if we feel they should understand, compassion moves us to keep seeing them as people who may still need time. That raises a good question. What was it that fueled Jesus' compassion so strongly? Question 5. What motivated Jesus to show compassion to his fellow Jews? Answer: Jesus was motivated by the way the religious leaders had failed the people. He saw that many were spiritually neglected, as sheep without a shepherd. Mark 6:34. So Jesus didn't just see their wrong views. He saw what led to them: confusion, poor guidance, and spiritual hunger. The article also highlights how deeply Jesus felt about this. He even wept over Jerusalem because he knew many would lose their lives due to a lack of faith. Luke 19:41-44. That shows compassion isn't just being nice. It's feeling genuine concern for someone's future. When we develop similar warm feelings for our relatives, it can help us stay motivated even when the situation is painful. And since change takes time, the next point helps us understand why patience is so important. Question 6. Why should we be patient with our unbelieving relatives? Galatians 6:9. Answer: we should be patient because faith often takes time to grow, especially when a person has deep-seated prejudice or strong emotions tied to religion. Galatians 6:9 encourages us not to give up in doing what is fine, because results come in Jehovah's time. The article also helps us stay humble by asking us to remember what we were like before we learned the truth. At one time, many of us were among those who had no hope and were without God in the world. Ephesians 2:12. Someone patiently helped us. So when we think of our relatives, patience is not just a technique. It's gratitude in action. We keep doing what is fine because we love them and because Jehovah was patient with us. Even with patience, we may still face negative reactions, so the article now helps us look deeper than what we hear or see. Question 7. What may have prevented Jesus' half-brothers from putting faith in him? Answer: Jesus' half-brothers likely heard about his miracles, yet at first they did not put faith in him. The article explains that the Bible doesn't give one direct reason, but it reveals factors that held back some Jews. For example, some people were afraid of being rejected by their community, John 9:18-22. Others had known Jesus from his youth and could not imagine him as God's representative, Mark 6:1-4. Those are powerful obstacles: fear of social pressure and the difficulty of seeing someone familiar in a new spiritual light. When we think about our own relatives, similar factors may be at play: fear, pride, misunderstanding, or simply not being ready to accept change. Recognizing that can help us avoid taking their reaction personally. And sometimes the resistance shows up in harsh words or actions. So what might be behind that? Question 8. What may cause unbelieving relatives to speak or act unkindly? Answer: the article encourages us to consider motives. Jesus' relatives may have been among those who said he had gone out of his mind. Mark 3:21. The context shows Jesus was so busy that he didn't even have time to eat. Mark 3:20. So it's possible his relatives thought he was being extreme or fanatical. That helps us interpret some negative reactions today. Our relatives may speak unkindly not because they truly hate us, but because they feel worried, confused, left out, or they think we're taking religion too seriously. If that's what they feel, the article's direction is wise. We can show by our actions that we are reasonable and balanced. Sometimes calm, consistent conduct speaks louder than arguments. So, what can help our relatives gradually change the way they feel about us? Question 9. What might help our relatives to change how they feel about us? 1 Peter 3:1-2. Answer: one of the strongest influences is our conduct. The article says, let your conduct speak for you. because kind words and actions can move relatives to reconsider their view. 1 Peter 3:1 and 2. It gives a practical example. An unbelieving husband might feel left out when his wife attends meetings or goes in the ministry. So, without compromising, she may adjust her schedule in a reasonable way, like doing ministry when he is busy or not at home, so he doesn't feel neglected. That flexibility can soften feelings and show that the truth makes us more loving, not less. Over time, that can help a relative reject false ideas they may have heard about Jehovah's Witnesses. Of course, sometimes relatives criticize us directly, so the next question helps us know how to handle that wisely. Question 10. When we are criticized, how can we imitate Jesus? Answer. We imitate Jesus by not feeling pressured to respond to every criticism. The article notes that when Jesus was falsely accused of eating and drinking too much, he didn't become defensive. He directed attention to the facts. Matthew 11:19. He also showed a balanced view of life through his actions. So when relatives criticize us, we don't need to argue constantly or try to win. Instead, we can calmly keep showing through our conduct that we are balanced, joyful, and reasonable. With time, that quiet consistency can be powerful. It may move them to question the negative stories they have heard and to see that the truth produces good fruit in our personality. Even if change is slow, the article now highlights another essential quality, hope, because family situations can take years. Question 11. How did Jesus deal with his unbelieving siblings? Answer. Jesus stayed patient with his siblings. The accounts show that even though they did not put faith in him at first, he did not cut ties with them. For example, they were evidently present in Cana when he performed his first miracle, and yet they still didn't believe. Still, Jesus continued to treat them kindly. What stands out is that about 3 years later, Jesus was still speaking kindly to his brothers. That teaches us that patience is not passive. It's steady love over time. Jesus didn't stop being loyal to Jehovah, but he also didn't turn cold toward family. So, what can help us keep that same hopeful outlook, even when nothing seems to change? Question 12. What can help us to remain hopeful that some of our relatives will have a change of heart? Answer. A clear understanding of Jehovah's mercy can keep us hopeful. The article explains that when false religion comes to an end, some relatives may remember what we told them. They may even join true worship after the Great Tribulation begins. Also, hard times can soften hearts. If relatives face struggles now, we will do what we can to be there for them. Seeing our genuine love and kindness may make them more receptive to Bible truth. So our hope is not based on optimism alone, it's based on Jehovah's mercy and on the power of consistent love over time. The article now becomes very practical because love has to be shown, not just felt. Question 13. Though we are busy in Jehovah's service, what should we be careful about? Answer. We should be careful not to give our relatives the impression that we have no time for them or that we no longer love them. The article reminds us of the principle behind Matthew 7:12. Treat others the way we would want to be treated. So even though spiritual activities are essential, we still want our relatives to feel valued. Many relatives don't understand our worship routine, but they do understand love. If we unintentionally come across as distant, it may reinforce their fears. So we try to be thoughtful and warm, showing them that serving Jehovah has made us more loving and considerate. One simple way to protect that relationship is staying connected in small, consistent ways. Question 14 and 15. What is one way to show that we love our unbelieving relatives? Give an example. Answer: one way is to keep in touch and regularly express love. The article mentions simple things: sending a message, sharing a few pictures, writing a kind note, or giving a modest gift. These gestures can soften tensions and remind relatives that they matter to us. The example of Anna is really warm and realistic. Her relatives worried that her new faith would change the family bond and even her future. But Anna eased their concerns by sharing about her life, inviting them over and introducing them to her friends. As a result, they saw that she was happy and surrounded by good people, and they stopped worrying so much. This teaches us that sometimes relatives fear what they don't understand. So gentle communication and openness can reduce that fear. Along with keeping in touch, the article highlights another approach that can make a big difference: showing personal interest. Question 16. How did Jesus show personal interest in his half-brother James? Answer: after Jesus was resurrected, he showed personal interest in James by appearing to him directly. 1 Corinthians 15:7. Just imagining that moment is moving. James realized Jesus had not given up on him. That reunion likely helped convince James that Jesus was the Messiah. And after that, James may have helped other family members come to the right conclusion too. The lesson for us is beautiful. Personal attention at the right time can touch a heart. Sometimes one sincere, loving effort can open the door to spiritual progress. So, how can we apply that same spirit in everyday situations with our relatives? Question 17. How can we apply the principle found at Romans 12:15? Answer: Romans 12:15 teaches us to share in people's joy and in their pain. The article encourages us to show interest in our loved ones at the moments that matter, both good times and bad times, because that can soften their attitude toward us. So we might congratulate them when a child is born, bring a small gift, and genuinely rejoice with them. And in times of grief, we can speak consolingly, offer practical help, or send a comforting card. Also, checking on them regularly, especially when they're facing hard times, shows love that feels real. This kind of loving attention can help them see that our faith makes us more compassionate, not distant. The article then adds another helpful step: letting our relatives see the congregation up close. Question 18. How can we imitate the disciple, Andrew? Answer: Andrew identified Jesus as the Messiah and quickly introduced his brother Peter to him. John 1:40-42. The article suggests we can imitate that by occasionally inviting a relative to a meeting or to a meal with our friends. This can be powerful because many relatives have ideas about Jehovah's Witnesses based on rumors. But when they meet kind, normal, decent brothers and sisters, it becomes harder to hold on to stereotypes. Without forcing anything, we can help them see the warmth of Jehovah's people, and sometimes that removes an emotional barrier that was blocking their heart. Even when relatives don't understand our beliefs, our tone and respect can leave a lasting impression. Question 19. Even if our relatives do not fully understand some of our beliefs, how should we treat them? 1 Peter 3:15. Answer: we should treat them with kindness and deep respect. The article notes that relatives may not understand why we refuse certain things, but they will remember our respectful way of speaking and behaving. 1 Peter 3:15. It also gives a balanced point. We cannot join unscriptural celebrations and customs, but we can still show love in many other ways: visiting them, sharing meals, spending time together at other moments, and giving gifts at appropriate times. This helps them see that our choices are about pleasing Jehovah, not rejecting family. The final section closes with an encouraging reminder. Sometimes change happens later than we expect. Question 20. Why is James's example encouraging for us? Answer. James did not join Jesus' ministry early on, but later he became a disciple. The article shows that although he missed earlier opportunities, he eventually took Jesus' teaching seriously. Under inspiration, he even wrote a letter that reflects the Sermon on the Mount. That encourages us because it proves that someone can change after a long time. Early resistance doesn't mean permanent rejection. Jehovah can help people grow, reflect, and soften. James is proof that time, patience, and Jehovah's influence can lead to a beautiful turnaround. So with that hopeful example, the article ends with the key encouragement. Never give up on our relatives. Question 21. Why should we not give up on our unbelieving relatives? Answer. We should not give up because each time we show kindness, we are imitating Jehovah and Jesus, who are merciful and patient. Luke 6:33-36. Even if our relatives don't respond right now, our loving conduct may gradually change how they feel about us. They may also remember the truths we shared with them in the past, especially when world events make them think more seriously. And the article holds out a beautiful possibility. If we don't give up, we may one day have the joy of seeing some of our dear relatives join us in true worship. That hope gives us strength to keep showing love, even when it's not immediately appreciated. To finish, here are the review questions that help us summarize the main lessons of the article. How would you answer? In question 1, how can compassion motivate us to help our unbelieving relatives? Answer. Compassion helps us see beyond their current reaction and focus on what they truly need, Jehovah's help and hope. Like Jesus, we don't just see indifference or opposition. We see a person who may be confused, afraid, or spiritually neglected. That warm feeling moves us to keep trying in gentle ways, not out of pressure, but out of sincere concern for their life and future. And because family situations can take time, the next key lesson is staying steady and hopeful. Question 2. Why do we need to remain patient and hopeful with our unbelieving relatives? Answer. We need patience and hope because faith often grows slowly. People may have prejudice, fear of rejection, or strong emotional attachments that take time to loosen. Jehovah was patient with us, and he can be patient with them too. Hope keeps us from concluding too soon that they will never change. It helps us keep doing what is fine, trusting that Jehovah can open hearts in his time, sometimes after years. Finally, the article shows that love must be visible in practical, consistent ways. Question 3. How can we show our unbelieving relatives that we love them? Answer. We show love by staying connected, taking interest in their life, and being present in their joy and in their pain. Simple gestures, messages, visits, kind words, reasonable flexibility, and practical help can reassure them that our love hasn't changed. We also show love by being respectful about our beliefs and making up time in appropriate ways so they understand we are not rejecting them. We are simply choosing to obey Jehovah. Over time, that consistent love can soften hearts and keep the door open for the truth.